Hi, I'm Tracy Townsend. I'll be bringing you the top stories from around Columbus this week. Columbus uses flock cameras to read license plates and collect details about the vehicles you drive. There have been some recent concerns about whether the tool has been used to crack down on illegal immigrants. We tracked down Columbus city leaders to get some answers. A new safe haven box is opening in Central Ohio. We will hear from public safety leaders about why this is necessary to protect children in our communities. Plus, you will hear about an incredible gift between identical twins. One brother donates a kidney to the other, giving him what he calls a new lease on life. Let's dive into these stories and more, making headlines across Central Ohio.
It's a dead-end street, but over the past 2 weeks, Omer Street has seen a steady stream of traffic.
I just wanted to do something with my feelings since it was so close. So here we are. It just really is so sad.
Jessica and her family are some of the many people driving by to see the home for themselves, where authorities say 16 children were living in deplorable conditions. The parents, Elizabeth and Gary Siders Jr., and his parents, Christina and Gary Sr., are all charged with child endangerment.
Really, I've just been following the story since it unfolded, and it's just really hard to understand how things get this way.
However, the prosecutor in Vinton County is aware that some people may be doing more than taking a quick look.
People who are going onto Omer Street need to be aware it's potentially a trespassing charge, and it could be a more serious obstruction charge. So the best advice is stay off the property if you don't have permission from the owner to be there.
And your office is looking into these videos?
We are investigating potentially who has been going on the property, yes.
Archer would not confirm the authenticity of videos we showed him and said his office cannot share images from the inside as this investigation is ongoing.
There's a lot of AI stuff still going on out there, so we're still trying to sort out how much of this is real.
It's my job to try to get funds.
Representative Mark Johnson sent this letter to Governor Mike DeWine the day after the children were found, asking for emergency state financial assistance.
Because I know the finances of Vinton County. Vinton County operates on an $8 million budget. $8 million run your entire county on.
Within less than 2 weeks, the state controlling board would approve $1 million to go towards the physical and mental health needs of the children and other costs that could have bankrupted the county. But Rep. Johnson says this funding is only the beginning.
We're going to have to budget for this in the operating budget. Also, this is not just a one-time expense, in my opinion. Will some be adopted? It's all possible.
The case has placed a great strain on the South Central Ohio Job and Family Services Agency. Rep. Johnson says he understands all 16 children have now been placed in foster care outside of Vinton County. Now he's asking questions about how to possibly prevent this in the future.
Should we put more money towards children's services? That needs to be looked at. Should there be more accountability? In my opinion, yeah, which we got to somehow have some oversight on calls come in, are calls being reacted to, but at the same time, it's going to cost more money.
The Ohio Department of Children and Youth has launched a review to see if anyone had ever reported this family. But Johnson says, if anything, the case has highlighted greater needs in Vinton County.
Since we have attention on Vinton County, is how can we better create wealth down there? How can we create good paying jobs? What can the state do?
Representative Johnson says this Vinton County case has been a daily point of conversation in his office for the last 2 weeks, and he plans to bring up some of the issues he's identified once the House is back in session, likely after the November election. Reporting at the State House, Carla Rogner, 10 TV News.
He's a police officer for Columbus. He's working now. He abused me this morning. I was scared that he'd come back and abuse me again. I need to get out of here.
The victim, desperate for help, told the 911 dispatcher several times she was afraid Timothy Fuller would show back up to the couple's home.
I know that you're worried about him coming, but I am telling you, the sergeant will not let that happen.
According to court records, Fuller strangled her multiple times on June 16th to the point where she lost consciousness 3 times. The woman told officers she woke up on the floor at the foot of her bed and Fuller whipped her and threatened to kill her. Court records say Fuller took her phone so she could not call for help.
So right now you're under arrest for DV. in your related duty.
Do what?
You're under arrest for DV.
Fuller joined the division in July of 2023. He was on duty when the victim called for help.
This isn't some sick joke.
According to Fuller's personnel file, he wanted to be STOP certified, which stands for Strangulation Team Operations for Prosecution. That's specialized training that helps officers identify signs of strangulation. Now, he's the one facing strangulation charges.
There's a history of violence against the same witness. The prosecuting witness was strangled during this incident, lost consciousness 3 times, and there's a history of strangulation attempts.
You know, I'm trying to prove them that I am a permanent resident, but then they said, yeah, we don't accept your document.
Julio Soto has been trying to renew his commercial driver's license with the Ohio BMV for months, and the delay is connected to a recent change in federal rules. They now say that immigrants have to prove they are permanent residents or U.S. citizens to keep their CDLs. Julio is Mexican, but has lived in Ohio for more than a decade. He applied for a 10-year green card 2 years ago, but the system is backlogged, and he's still waiting for his case to be heard. In the meantime, federal immigration officials gave him this I-551 stamp in his passport to show that he's still a legal and permanent U.S. resident while he waits. But he says BMV officials won't accept this as proof of his legal status and renew his CDL. In May, he appealed the BMV's decision and recently got a letter saying he won his case. So last week, Julio went back to the BMV to renew his CDL, but things didn't go as planned.
They told us that someone is going to call us, and we actually received a phone call the next day telling us that, yeah, we cannot renew your license because we cannot accept your green card.
Did they at least explain their reasoning why?
No, they just said that it came down from FMCSA now that they are no longer accepting that green card.
The FMCSA is the federal agency that regulates CDLs and many other things. And in an email to the BMV, the FMCSA said they can only accept an unexpired permanent residency card. It goes on to say that a stamp, like the one in Julio's passport, isn't enough to prove permanent residency.
In my opinion, I am being discriminated.
We asked Julio's attorney about all of the confusion over his residency status.
Is it fair to say that it feels like the goalpost keeps moving when it comes to handling these cases?
Yes, and that's what happens when agencies don't talk to each other when they pass regulations.
We also asked Senator Bernie Moreno what someone in Julio's position can do.
If anybody's in that situation, that's my job. That's what my team's job is, to make sure that that gets fixed. So please make certain that you give them my office's contact information and email, and my team will get that to you.
But Julio and his wife Aletta say they already called Senator Moreno's office weeks ago and are still waiting to hear back. And they add that they're now working on a new way to get both the BMV and the FMCSA to see their side of things.
When we're going to sue?
So you guys are considering a lawsuit?
Not considering, we are going through it.
Yes.
The pair say they're also working to figure out their finances since Julio lost his trucking job because he can't renew his CDL.
I'm getting a huge debt. We have no income.
In Columbus, Rochelle Aline, 10 TV News.
Scenes like this play out across the city of Columbus almost every day. Columbus police say kids are looking for guns, and in 20% of car break-ins, they find one.
The vast majority of Columbus youth are making the right choices every day. However, some are not. The Next Gen Safety Initiative focuses on small groups of repeat juvenile offenders causing serious harm in our communities. We use better information and criminal justice partnerships to put the right resources in the right places at the right times.
After years of dealing with stolen cars and car break-ins, CPD developed the Next Gen Safety Initiative to target the worst offenders before they become violent offenders.
One of our goals is to assess who may be most at risk for future offending. We use that based on analysis of criminal behaviors we've already seen. We analyze areas such as offending activity, the recency and frequency of offending, and involvement in potential criminal networks, which can really be risk indicators for future offending.
You may remember in May, CPD announced 10 teens had been indicted on nearly 300 felony charges for their alleged roles in an organized theft ring that centered on breaking into vehicles and stealing guns. That was thanks to next-gen investigations.
Youth tend to commit crimes in groups, and like in any social circle, there's leaders, followers, and influencers. And one of the ways we know we can be most effective is by, being aware of those relationships. And again, that can help us place the right intervention services for each person.
CPD says it also monitors social media, where teens will post videos bragging about the crimes they've committed and will influence others.
Social media plays a big part, particularly among the age group of youth. Social media can be a major influencer as far as spreading activities and bringing in, potentially individuals who wouldn't be involved in criminal activity into that lifestyle.
CPD is hoping next-gen means a safer Columbus.
This program means fewer victimizations. It means, a balance of accountability and restorative justice.
Well, Columbus police say flock license plate reading cameras were used in 60% of the homicide arrests last year. But they say every tool needs to be monitored to make sure it's not being used outside of policy.
Just within the last week of successes that are directly attributable to this technology, there is a 4-year-old girl that is back with her mother this week because of flock.
Even with its success, the city and the Columbus Division of Police are taking a hard look at the data Flock is collecting and how it's being used. Recently, there have been questions if the tool has been used to crack down on illegal immigrants.
We've been very clear as a city. No local resources will be used to do federal immigration enforcement.
Columbus police have previously said it found a small number of possible immigration enforcement-related searches. Of the nearly 20 million search records analyzed, the division flagged 15,577 as possibly related to immigration enforcement, almost entirely from outside of the Columbus Division of Police. And of those records, 20 represented searches by division personnel that could not be ruled out from being related to immigration.
To be very clear, the Columbus Division of Police has no role in immigration enforcement, but the concern is that data from our sensors could be used for those purposes. What I can tell you is that we've taken a lot of steps over the last several months to reduce that risk.
Shortly after the audit was released, Mayor Andrew Ginther ordered Columbus Police to stop sharing data from the cameras statewide. Ginther reaffirmed his policy dating back to a 2017 executive order that city resources are not to be used for civil immigration enforcement.
Like any technology, any tool, we have to continue to make sure that we are protecting the people of Columbus, protecting their privacy, and following and obeying our laws.
Columbus Police Deputy Chief Tim Myers says CPD will continue sharing with local agencies on a one-on-one basis to continue using the Flock system to solve crimes.
We swear an oath to uphold the Constitution, to serve the public, and so any technology that we have that helps us do that, we're going to leverage. Our burden is to make sure that we are doing that in a responsible way.
And Columbus City Council will hold a public meeting on August 10th to talk about the Flock license plate reading program and the audit. In Columbus, Lacey Crisp, 10 TV News.
A life well lived is often measured in the stories left behind. And those who knew the late pastor, Joseph Stoll, say, whether at the pulpit or piano.
Hi guys, welcome to Reviews with PJ.
Or at his self-appointed gig.
Today I am reviewing prune cake.
As a food reviewer, Pastor Joe's character remained the same.
He's the nicest, godliest man I've ever met.
His associate pastor at Genoa Church, Scott Leewald, says that's what makes his loss so hard to comprehend.
It doesn't feel real. It still feels like he's going to walk in the door tomorrow and with his smile, riding his bicycle and talk about what he ate for dinner last night.
Pastor Joe was in a biking accident on July 3rd and died just days later. According to the Ohio State Highway Patrol, he was hit by a truck while using a bike path near the intersection of State Route 3 and Big Walnut Road. OSHP confirmed that the truck driver is not being cited in this case. And as his church comes to grip with his loss, they say they're taking comfort in this.
He's not hurting, he's not sick, he has complete healing and he's in heaven, and so we rejoice with him for that. But we miss our friend, we miss our coworker, we miss our pastor.
A lieutenant with the Ohio State Highway Patrol tells me the investigation into this crash is complete, and their agency will be making some safety recommendations to Delaware County to improve safety on this bike trail and others in the area. In Genoa Township, Rochelle Aline, 10 TV News.
For firefighters, the heat isn't supposed to follow them home to the firehouse. Firefighters already face intense temperatures on emergency calls. Returning from a hot fire to a hot firehouse can make it harder to cool down and recover before the next call. At least 7 Columbus fire stations, including the fire alarm office, are dealing with air conditioners not working. 2 others are being looked at.
I was told at about 10:30, 11 o'clock this morning it was 90 degrees, I believe, at Station 19. Is that acceptable for firefighters who have to be ready to go save lives?
No, and that's why we're working so hard to address it. And, our safety department and finance department are working very hard to make sure that we get the air conditioning units working and to make sure that they're acceptable, safe conditions for our firefighters.
Portable air conditioners have been brought into those stations, but are struggling to keep up. At Station 14 on Parsons, it was 77 degrees in the main area with the portable ACs running. It was close to 80 at Station 29.
There's parts of firehouses that are all good to go, so they can take it easy in those places and take time to cool off in those areas. We've provided the temporary units to provide some cooling relief in those affected areas.
Firefighters at one station said after morning training today, they were too hot to eat lunch, which raises concerns about fatigue.
What are you doing to rectify that?
Working closely with facilities and safety to make sure that that is fixed and addressed as quickly as possible. Obviously, with this longer stretch of extreme heat, it's put a lot of folks' air conditioning units and so forth, to the test. And so we're checking into those reports and getting teams activated to get them fixed and up and running as quickly as possible.
Ohio's safe haven law allows a parent to drop off a newborn child at a fire station without any fear of prosecution as long as that child is less than 30 days old. But this new baby box here in Prairie Township makes that option much safer.
But if just one life is saved here because of it, then the hours spent planning, funding, and preparing for this project will all be worth it.
Lieutenant Andrew Joseph has been leading the project to bring a safe haven baby box to Prairie Township.
So myself, locally, I live in Plain City, and we had an infant that was unfortunately placed in a trash bin and then in the back of a trash truck. And that kind of really got this ball rolling, kind of hit home to me being in my own neighborhood.
That baby, named Baby Madison Doe by its community, is why these boxes are important. They give a mother in crisis a safe, anonymous option to surrender her newborn. Here's how it works.
The infant will be placed inside the bassinet, and then the door will be closed.
Once inside,
you can hear our internal alarm is sounding.
An alarm delayed by 1 minute to protect the anonymous process will alert firefighters to the baby.
So this is all temperature controlled. It allows the infant to be safe whether it's negative 20 degrees outside or 95 degrees outside like it is today. It provides the infant with that safe environment and a safe enclosure as well. So this way, once they're in here, no one else can obtain the child except for fire department or law enforcement.
The fire station has a baby carrier and medical supplies ready to go. Monica Kelsey is the founder. She's brought these boxes to more than 450 fire stations across the country.
We're not telling every woman to come here and place their baby in a box. We're saying if you can't do an adoption plan or a parenting plan or walk into that hospital up the road and hand your child to a person, you can come here if this is what you choose to do. And now it's operational here and it's available.
In just the last 24 days, the founder of the Safe Haven Baby Boxes says 9 newborns were dropped off at boxes across the country, including one here in Ohio. The fire department is happy to have this option available to people who might need it. Reporting in Columbus, Carla Rogner, 10 TV News.
For me, this was a no-brainer.
Sean Cullinan's shirt says living kidney donor. And to his left, his recipient's shirt reads the living proof. That's his identical twin, Chris Cullinan.
Sean's just like, this is happening, you're doing it.
I asked their surgeon, Dr. Amir Rajab, if identical twins are a 100% match.
But when you are identical twin, it means everything is matching.
But Sean says even with that in mind,
The day that I got approved as a match was very, very emotional.
and the brothers tell me Sean wasted no time. He wanted to help his brother as soon as possible.
Give me your first appointment.
Chris recounts the moments he woke up.
First question is, how's my brother doing?
Sean says he doesn't remember much about the first few days, but recounts this memory of Chris post-op.
Chris comes tearing into the room with a safety walker. The nurses can barely keep up, and he comes in and he said, let's go for a race.
And he says it was that moment.
Just to see that much energy and just, his color was coming back.
Everything was worth it.
You can tell we still got emotional.
The twins recovered back home at their parents' house.
That was great having mom's home cooking again.
Side by side, of course.
It brought back those childhood memories, for sure. Yeah.
I asked Chris what it means to hear his brother say that he's given him a new lease on life.
Good one.
His next answer, 2 words, fitting for 2 brothers.
That's everything.
That's a wrap on this week's edition of Around Columbus, your look at the story shaping Central Ohio. Thanks for spending time with us. Stay safe, stay informed. We'll see you next time. Don't forget, you can always get the latest updates on the go with the free 10 TV News app.